All right, so we'll start another Shavuos Dik Maimer in Memorim Melukotim. This is a Chelik Gimel, Memorim Meluka, the 50th Maimer. And the Maimer was on the second day of Shavuos in Tovshim and Vav that the Rebbe gave the Maimer. And it says in the note that they printed it actually in that year. Uh, and during the Tashlumim, up till the 12th of the month, is the day of Tashlumim. From Shavuos, they bring the Korbanos, and the time of the Beis Hamikdash is called the Yemei Tashlumim. That's when they printed the Maimer. All right. So, the Siyaita the Shmaya, Yom Beis the Chag HaShavuos, Tovshin Memvav. So, the Rebbe quotes the Pasuk of Ato Hareso Lodas, Ki Hava Yehu HaLikim Ein Eid Milvadei. This is a Pasuk that the Rebbe brings down, which is brought down in Mishnah Torah. That's brought down in the book of Devarim, where Shavuos, we're talking about the Yom Tov Shavuos, Matan Torah. This took place Parshas Yisrael. But the Pasuk, when did it take place? It took place during Shavuos, during Matan Torah. You have shown to us so that we know. Moshe Rabbeinu says two things: Ki Hashem hu ha'elikim, that Hashem is Elikim, and another thing, Ein Eid Milvade. The Rebbe is going to explain. This is Kosu b'Mishnah Torah. This pasuk is written in Mishnah Torah, in the repetition of the Torah, in the book of Devarim. Moshe mipi atzmei amra, that Moshe said it on his own. So, still, Umevayer Rabbeinu Hazokin, b'Sefer HaTanya. The Alter Rebbe in the book of Tanya explains the inyan ze hoya b'shas matan Torah. This idea that Hashem showed himself, Horeisa, that took place in Matan Torah. So it's a pasuk in Mishnah Torah, but this took place when did it Horeisa Ladas was in the time of Matan Torah. The Oz Hoya Hagilu Dato Horeisa Ladas. That is when the revelation that you have shown yourself, Ladas, that took place by Matan Torah. Kitoidas Admur Hazokin, as the teaching of the Alter Rebbe, translating the pasuk, what does it mean? So he says in Yiddish, Ato do. When you say Ato, you, which is Atzmus, which is Atzmus Ein Sov Baruchu, Hod Eso. It's not a name of Hashem. It's just the word Ato, you. You is a reference to the essence of the blessed Ein Sof. Horeisa. Horeisa means du hast sich bewiesen. You have shown yourself. Atzmus shown himself. Ladas, as men soll dich wissen, so that we should know you. Hashem revealed himself, showed himself so that we can know him. And what could we know? Ki havaye hu ha'elikim and ein oid milvad. Shehem beis oifane v'inyone hasoga b'hasoga salakus. These are two ways and two different matters in the understanding, the grasping godliness. Ha'alef hu ha'asoga davai likim kulachad. One is grasping that Hashem and Elikim is one. V'habezu ha'asoga de'ein oid milvadei. And number two is the grasping that there is nothing besides Hashem. Ubezeh mevair b'Tanya shom. So this he explains in the Tanya over there. Shebishas matan Torah that at the time of the Torah was given was that revelation. The Atzmus v'huz v'chulu ba'ofen dehar Esa. That the revelation of the Atzmus v'huz in a way that he is shown, that was at the time of Matan Torah. So basically, the Rebbe wants to say this was at that time, and therefore, every year on Shavuos, when these things take place again, the Matan Torah, we have the opportunity of the Horeisa of Atzmos who's shown himself. Be'oifun the Horeisa, Umoisif, the Alter Rebbe adds in the Tanya, Mamish, B'ri'iyah Chushis. You have shown yourself actually in a vivid, in a practical way to see with the obvious seeing, a real seeing, a real chushis. That's how Hashem revealed himself. Umamshich betanya shom. So the Tanya continues over there. What was this impact of that horeisa lodas, that vision that the Eibishter showed himself, that we know, and this is, it continues the Tanya, the lochen hoyu Yisrael betelim b'metzius mamish. That's why the Yidden were actually subjugated, self from their existence. They became subjugated to Hashem totally. Kemai merazal b'gemara, as the sages tell us in the Gemara, shall kol dibur v'dibur parcha nishmason chulo. Every saying that the Eibishter said, every saying and saying, when the Eibishter said the Aseres, the 10 saying, for each saying, Parcha Nishmasim Chulu, their souls flew away, meaning the souls left their bodies. But Ve'echaziru HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lahem, but Hashem brought back their souls to their bodies, Bital Sha'osi Lahachiz Boy Es HaMesim, with the dew which Hashem is destined to revive the dead. Tchiyas HaMesim will take place with the dew. So that dew that the Eibishter will make Tchiyas HaMesim was the dew that the Eibishter brought the neshamas, the souls, back to the bodies after they were, neshamas flew away from the bodies. Bring it back. Okay, the Isa big Gemara Sham, as we find it over there in the Gemara, Shezehu Masha Mar David HaMelech. This is what King David said. Bal Hailula the Chag HaShavuos, whose yahrzeit is on Shavuos, the David HaMelech. He says, Geshem Nedovis Toni Felikim Nachaloscho Vinila Atikananto. Geshem is rain, but Geshem Nidovis, the benevolent rain, which is, the Rebbe will explain, which is the level of dew, really, it's Geshem Nidovis, it's a special rain, which is like the dew. Tonif Elikim, Hashem will raise Nachaloscha, your inheritance, which means the Yidden will be raised, will be revived, resurrected with the Geshem Nidovis. Vinila Atakananta, the tired ones, those who are Nila, you prepared. The Koyi al Tal Tchia Shehechia Boyes Yisrael. So the reference of saying this posik that Hashem raised them with the Geshem Nidovis, that is referencing the Tal Tchia, the dew that resurrects, which the Eibush resurrected the Yid. Umevayer betanya shom. So the Tanya explained how did this tal? What is this tal that gave them back and was brought them back? The tal zehu tal Torah chulu. This dew is the dew of Torah. As our sages of blessed memory say, that all that occupy in Torah, the tal of Torah revives him. So we say that the tal is referencing the Torah. The Torah has the level of tal, and that tal, that dew of Torah, gives life, sustain the person. The Geshem Nedov is that tal is what brought them back. Toni Felikim Nachaloscha, that is what the Eibishter revive the Yidden. That is the Tal of Torah. So the Rebbe is going to explain here exactly what is the Tal Torah and how it applies to the Yidden. But first, the Rebbe wants to say, okay, this is something that happened. This is that happened in Shavuos, and by Matan Torah, it was the Tal Torah, Geshem Nedovis. But what does it mean to us? But there is a lesson. There is uh, a repetition, sort of the same thing all the time, and this is something that we need to learn from. Base. We know the explanation of our master, the Baal Shem Tov, which is also Bal HaHilula de Chag HaShavuos. It was also Yortzeit of Shavuos. First, the Rebbe brought a pasuk from David HaMelech, whose Yortzeit is on Shavuos, and now he's bringing a explanation of the Baal Shem Tov, whose Yortzeit is also on Shavuos. It says the Chol Inyan Sheba Olam Hu Hayira Ba'avodas Adam L'Koyin. The Baal Shem Tov says everything in the world is a lesson in the service of Hashem to his master, to Hashem, to one who acquires him. Everything that we meet and come across in the world is a lesson for us in our service to Hashem. So how much more so if it's an area, an aspect of Torah that it has a message in our Avodas Hashem. Baal Shem Tov says even something ordinary in the world, which is not associated with Torah, has a lesson in our service to Hashem. Certainly a matter of Torah. Kamesha Kosu, as the Pasuk says, Vayitzaveinu Hashem lasis is called Hachukim Ha'ela, that Hashem has told us to do all of these statues, Liyiras Hashem Elokeinu Gemer, is so that we fear and we serve the Eibishter and we fear the Eibishter, we do the mitzvahs. So that means that all the Chukim Ha'ela, all of these statues are meant to bring us to fear Hashem Elokeinu, to serve Hashem. The Pasuk Zeh Muchach, from this Pasuk it's evident Shakol HaTorah Kulo, that all of the Torah, which the Pasuk says, Kol HaChukim Ha'ela, Vayitzaveinu Hashem Lasis says Kol HaChukim Ha'ela. So all of the Inyono Hu Hoiro Ba'avodas Hashem Liyiras Hashem Elokeinu. That is a lesson in the service of Hashem to fear Hashem Elokeinu. Ad L'kiyum HaMitzvahs B'Pashta, to the extent that we will observe the mitzvahs literally, to do mitzvahs. That is why the Eibishter commanded us all of these statues, that they bring us to serve Hashem, to fulfill the mitzvah. So that means that from Torah is, the purpose of Torah is to make us, to get us to do the mitzvahs literally. Move on. So from this we understand the Gam Inyan Zeh Shebet is that also this aspect of Torah that we're discussing here, the fact that on every saying and saying of the Aseres HaDibros, the neshama flew away, and then the Eibishter brings him back to the Tal. There is a lesson in the service of man to Hashem. And further, there's more than that. There's more than just the lesson over here, but the fact that we're talking about Matan Torah, we have, that's something which is true. The Yidden, their soul left them and they were brought back to the Tal, so that's true. But it's even more pertinent, more true, more applicable at the time of Matan Torah, because the master, the Baal Shem Tov, explains in the Sefer Keser Shem Tov, the Maimer Razal, in the saying of our sages of blessed memory, Da ma lemailo mimoch. He says, know that which is above you. So the Pashat means that know what is above you. Know that Hashem, recognize, appreciate that was above you. But here the Baal Shem Tov teaches it, Dama lemailo mimoch. How do you know what is going on above? You know it mimoch, from you. You, when you see what's going on by you, you know what's going on above. Ritzoyna loymar, mimcho teda, from you, you will know what's going on. Lamaila. Eze mido shenis oirerbach, whatever measure that has been aroused by you, kachol lamaila, that's like it's the same thing as above. Basically, that what happens above is mimoch, you know from yourself. In somewhere else, it's brought a similar b'shem Rav Magid. The Rebbe says this general statement that we just said in the name quoted to the Keser Shem Tov, the Baal Shem Tov, it's brought down similar in the name of the Magid. Shlishi, and then in third place, Huva b'shem Rabbeinu Hazok, and this is brought down in the name of the Alter Rebbe. There is some change of language. It is not the place to go into the differences, but this general idea is said with changes of languages in three different places. But in any event, move on. So, but since we're saying what's going on by you represent what is going on above, so from this we understand when by the Yid is going on Matan Torah, same thing is going on above. When the person sees and he knows by himself, which is mimcho, dalamayla mimcho, this the mimcho, who's man Matan Torah seinu, that by him is the time of Matan Torah. How does he know? That's been very clearly stated. Torah's emes and the Torah's Chaim, the true and living Torah, tells us that by us now is Shavuos. Now is Matan Torah Seinu. So he knows Mimcha is Matan Torah. How they move on Mizeh Shekain Hu Gam Lamailo. So that means if it's Matan Torah by you, the same thing is above. Shalamailo who's Matan Torah Seinu. That above it's the time of the Torah given. Behainu. So that means since is the time of Matan Torah now, so we get the idea of Matan Torah, the Atoresa. V'hainu shebizman Matan Torah seinu, nase Atoresa ladas kavayehu alikim ein oid milvadei. That means at the time when the Torah was given, it becomes, you have shown yourself to know that Hashem alikim ein oid milvadei. Du atzmus ein sof baruch hu zu sich bavizn chulu. You, the essence, the etzem of Ein Sof, have shown yourself. Hareisa Mamash B'ri Yechush is quoting what he said before from the Tanya. You showed vividly, with a vividly seeing. So, on one hand, we experience that Atta Hareisa now, because since it's Matan Torah, and what goes on by you is above, so there is the Hareisa. V'yachad im zeh, together with that great level of being shown, also it also extends by the Yidden the dew with which Hashem will revive, resurrect the Mesim. V'hu tal Torah. And that's the tal, the dew of Torah, like we said before, that the tal, the end of Is Aleph, that is the dew of Torah. Be'inyan zeh, and this idea, nimshach b'chol inyonei ha'odom. This extends in all areas, in all aspects of the person. Al derech mashakosu, zois ha'Torah odom, that the Torah is the odom, the Torah penetrates. This is the Torah. The pasuk is the Torah Adam Kiyamus, but the Taich is Zois HaTorah Adam. The Torah is the person, which means the Torah is the Tal Torah that we're talking about. That becomes the person. That becomes who you are. Shahat Torah. Gam Bechinas Torah. Tal Torah. Even the level of Tal Torah, where we're talking about the higher level of which is Mechayehu, as the Rebbe will explain later on, Tal Torah is Chasidus, the Pneumius HaTorah, and then there is the Geshem of Torah, which is the regular Torah, as the Rebbe will explain. But now we have Zeis HaTorah Adam, ShaTorah Gam Bechinas Tal Torah, Choideres B'Mitziusei Shel Adam. It penetrates the existence of the person Ad shenasis mitziosei ha'amiti shel kol echad ve'echad misrael, until that dew of Torah becomes the true existence of each and every Jew, that what he becomes. Koilel b'chol drachecha b'chol masecha, which would include not only when the Yid learns Torah, only when he goes on his ways, on his own path, on the regular, on the all actions, he will still penetrate the Adam, he is still Tal Torah. That explained elsewhere the idea, what it means to have the Tal Torah, to have it all penetrate in the person, in all areas of the person, in the Drachecha, in Masecha. So the fact that this applies to everywhere, Tal Torah, so when that we understand even further, that this idea of Tal Torah is important nowadays, because we're saying that the Eibishter was mechayed them through the Tal Torah, and this is what helps the Yidden. It's important even more nowadays, as the Rebbe will explain, as a preparation for Mashiach, when the Tal Torah will actually be Mechayim Eisim. So we have to sort of connect to the idea of the Tal Torah, which gives life. As the Rebbe will continue. Hine, Huva Le'il, it's brought down earlier, Shebi Gemara, Huva Al Zeh HaKosuf, that in the Gemara, it's brought down the Posik Shomar David with regards to the Tal that is Mechaya. He brought the Posik Geshem Nedovis Toni Felikim Gomer. The benevolent rain will raise, Hashem will raise with it. So L'chayre, we need to understand how they beposik siv Geshem Nedovis. It talks about the benevolent rain. It talks about rain, not dew. Geshem daike. We're talking about rain. V'imkein ma'hu shemesayim. So what does the Gemara conclude? Shechzira lahem betal tchiyah, that the Eibishter brought back their neshamas after their neshamas flew away. The Eibishter brought them down with the tal tchiyah, with the dew that revives, tal daike, specifically to do. In the pasuk it says Geshem. So it's explained elsewhere. Shebechinas Geshem Nedovis, we're talking about the benevolent rain. Loi Geshem Stam. It doesn't say Geshem Tonif, no Geshem, not just Geshem, but Geshem Nedovis, who al derech inyan hatal. This is similar to the idea of Tal. So basically, Geshem Nedovis is Tal. And that's why he says there is the Tal Tchiyah. But we still need to understand, why do we call it Geshem when it's Tal? Based on what the Mittler Rebbe explained in the Maimer, which begins with the opening of the idea of Tal Torah, and this Maimer, there is a continuation to understand the idea of which explained in this opening in Erev Chag HaShavus that Rebbe gave the Maimer, and that Maimer, the Maimer is a hemshech the Tal Torah to the Maimer that was discussed in Eruch HaGashvus. So that's the Hine Kesiv in the Pasuk. It says in Hazinu, in the Pasuk, it says Yariv Kamotor Likhi Tizal Katalim Rossi. Over there, the Pasuk mentions both. That the rain, my Likhi, my Torah will drip like rain, and it will be Tizal Katalim Rossi. My saying will be like dew. Basically, that the Torah is compared here both to rain and compared to dew. Imrossi. Because of the Koi al HaTorah, this pasuk is referring to the Torah. Shahari Omre Moshe Rabbeinu. This was said by Moshe Rabbeinu. Asher Moshe Kibul Torah Mesinai Umesora. Moshe received the Torah and gave it over. Vacha Torah Nikras al Shmoy. It's called Torah's Moshe. It's called, the Torah is called on the name of Moshe Rabbeinu. So when Moshe Rabbeinu says Lichi Imrosi, this is referring to the Torah. Hariyesh b'Torah beis madrega. So in the Torah there's two levels: b'chinas tal u'b'chinas matar. The level of dew and level of rain. So he explains what is the two levels. The inner yedua is known. Sha'amotar bo misibas ha'edim sha'elim min ha'aretz chulu. Rain comes. The cause for rain is the steam that comes from the earth, the eid yalim in haaretz, and that later on turns to rain that comes down. As the pasuk says, the eid yalim in haaretz, ve'ishkas kol pnei ha'adama. The eid will go up, the cloud will go up from the ground, and that will later on water the entire world. Shezeh hageshem, zeh hageshem. That's the rain that waters the entire face of the earth. Like the other pasuk says, Kikasher yered hageshem, like the rain goes down. Hirvo goimer, hirvo es haaretz ve'lidu v'tzmicha. It quenches the earth and it gives birth and it grows. So the water that comes down to the earth and makes it grow from there. That's the rain. So rain comes from the bottom, goes up and comes down. But dew comes down from above on its own. Kemaimer, like the saying goes, tal loy me'etzer. Tal does not held back. Tal goes down all the time. So similar to the two avodas of rain that comes milamata to come down, and the dew which comes down all the time by itself, it just beis minei hamshachas v'ashpoas milmailo. There's two types of extensions and flow that come from above. Ha'alef hanimshach milmailo lamato al yidei isaruso delatata. Number one is that which comes from above to below through the arousal of below. How do we get the rain? We first bring the eid yalim in haaretz. So the way it comes down is the saruso de latata brings the saruso de leilo. Shazo b'chinas motor. That's the level of rain. Similar to the rain which extends through the cloud that comes from the ground. Meaning hamshacham el mailo comes from the halom mata. That means through the effort and the work malmata. How do we get this hamshocha ruchnis? Is we get it through the avodah. K'maimer Hazal ala posik yariv kamoter likhi. The sages say on the verse that let my rain yariv. So yariv we're touching irv, but yariv also means the back, which means shavru habriyas as orpam. Miyad motor yered. Once the people broke their backs, meaning they worked hard to work the land, the field. When they break they break their backs. So immediately rain comes down. What does this mean? What does it mean in the service of man? You break your back. In the bechinas oirev, when you said the level of oirev, breaking your back, what is the back? That's back is the hind part. Heiper b'chinas provim. That is opposite of the face, which means you can go by Hashem's face, you can go by the back. Acharei Hashem elikeichem telechu. That the back means you're going in the hind part of Hashem, you go. To break the back means to leave the back and go to the ponim. V'shovru habriyas orpom. When we say that the people break their backs, meaning they should no longer be in the level of back, but to break it. Who bitl inyan zeh ha'elem v'hester. That is to negate, to destroy this idea of the block and obscurity. That comes through work and effort. That is the effort. You have to work in order to get to the point. We're not talking breaking your body physically, breaking the body, God forbid. The soul is in the body. Guf body, a healthy body. All 248 limbs, all 365 sinews. You're a whole good person. We're talking about having a broken heart, meaning to a healthy breaking heart. Your heart is broken for your situation, and you're breaking away to get to the level of punim. What is and breaking the back? There's an expression. What different is if you kill all or you kill partially? When you're breaking yourself and you're working hard, that is reaching the higher level. So we're not talking about breaking the body. We're talking about breaking in your heart, your feeling. Through the breaking of the heart, the body comes to a greater wholesomeness. As the known statement, a known saying, there is nothing as a whole thing like a broken heart. A broken heart is actually the whole. That's the greatest. There is nothing as whole as a broken heart. That makes you really whole, but not physically. So that's the hard work that brings the rain from above. That's the sarusa de latata that brings rusa de leila. Then that rain quenches the earth gives birth, it grows. That's the hamshoche of motor. Hamshoche habeis milmailo, he, and the second hamshoche milmailo, evchinas tal shenimshech ma'atzmei. That's the dew that comes on its own, beli saruso dilatata klal, without any arousal from below at all. Or kumaimer kumayatal sheirid ma'atzmei, like the dew that comes by itself. Kumaimer talei me'atzikinal, like we're saying, the dew does not stop; it comes down from above, all on its own. So the Rebbe discussed here the two levels of talum motor. Motor comes through work, and then that hard work brings down the rain to produce. Even though you have to break yourself, yigia, that's rusa de latata. And then you have the level of tal, which comes on its own, as we'll continue to learn in the Maimer. Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah.